It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy.
It's time to take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and more than 15 podcast platforms. We also invite you into the studio each week via YouTube. Subscribe and watch each episode on our YouTube channel at Turner O'Neill Podcast. Thanks to our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. And our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by me, DJ Krissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Here's your host, Kurtis Cross.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Kurtis Cross, your host, and with me as always is Coach Steve Turner and Coach Casey O'Neill. Our engineer is DJ Krissy, and together we welcome you into the studio for this week's episode. Our premier partner for Season 2 is Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray is a friend of the program, and he is the only mortgage lender we endorse right here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ray Cruz is Mortgage Intelligently. We'd like to thank our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and the Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. This week, we are staying local by way of College Park, by way of Houston, with none other than Mr. Steve Francis. But first, fellas, how are we doing this week? Coach O'Neill.
Doing great. Doing great. My man Cole had their first game. Got to watch via YouTube link or whatever it was.
It wasn't just a game, though. He might have done something in that game.
Yeah, got a first G in his first game with the Clemson Tigers.
All right.
Big
They
time.
played the Tennessee Vols this weekend, and happy to see him back playing the sport he loves after everything he'd been through, playing in the university at Furman last year, shutting down, relocating schools, going through all that, and just at the end of the day, the kids just want to play the game they love.
How long has it been?
I mean, it's they've had fall ball and things like that, but just to put on the uniform and get on. I mean, it's been a year.
A year, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
legit a year. I mean, last year he was getting ready to get on a plane. They were heading out to go to play at Air Force, and boom, we're not going. Everyone's got to go home. A month later, program shuts down. Boom, here he is, full circle, just having a great time. So I'm very proud of him. We are entering almost week 3 of the Puppy Gate.
All right, Puppy Gate 2021, baby.
Yep. She was best in show, no pun intended, in class on Saturday.
Oh,
I was
excuse
walking
me.
around with that leash,
You got an
At
elite
least
pup?
that's my opinion, best
Okay.
in show.
That's all that matters.
I'm walking around with those on YouTube, holding the thing out and just, kind of weaving in and out of the cones with the dog.
Showing off.
Trying to. It wasn't that way the other week. The other week, it was like in the woods, just like, please come out here. So,
Right.
all good. And we're getting closer to our season. Boom. Making Krissy laugh.
Good to
Monday
go,
night.
huh?
Here we go.
Coach Turner, talk to me, sir.
Busy weekend, but fun, good. Did our photo shoot this weekend for the media guide, for the basketball media guide, and that was a good time. See those guys put on our actual game uniforms,
Right.
with the 2 teams that we put together this year. And then I'd say the big thing was not the weekend; it was this morning,
All right.
getting that second vaccine shot.
Bam!
So far, so good. I'm here.
If he falls asleep during this episode, you'll know why.
Hey, get the leg going.
We'll talk about you if you fall asleep, though.
I'm here for Mental Health Monday with my crew, and I'm ready to go.
Like, ain't no shot gonna keep you down, huh?
Nah, not for this.
Okay.
Maybe after we're done. Nah.
Let's just get through the interview, and then we'll put a pillow down here.
We can do that. All right, DJ Krissy, talk to us about your weekend, young lady.
You know, I had a good weekend. I was starting to think about spring.
Yes.
And it's coming. And
More
we have
daylight.
some beautiful weather today.
Uh-huh.
And we spring ahead this weekend.
Yes,
and you know
we
what
do.
that means?
You're going to lose an hour of sleep, which I know you don't like.
I don't like that at all. I don't.
Does it mean something
that's
else?
this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah,
This weekend.
Saturday, 2 a.m. goes to 3 a.m.
Well, I can
Ain't
tell
gonna
you
matter
one
for you.
thing.
Ain't gonna matter for you with the pup.
I'll be out. I'll be outside,
Regardless.
making sure that
Yeah,
that puppy
anyway.
goes to the bathroom. So, well, good.
So is that all it
addition-
means? Oh, in addition, go for
No.
it.
You got to start planning for the spring yard clean.
Yes. Oh,
Right?
you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be out there
Gotta
this weekend.
Pick mulch colors and figure out plants and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but you got two laborers over there.
I do.
Adam and Chelsea. I'm sure they're.
I do, and we have a guy that we hire every year, multiple times a year to come out. My man Salat, I will give him credit. He is a junior in the pharmacy program at the University of Maryland, and he comes over and he tightens us up. So yeah,
Keeps
Good
it.
stuff.
we'll be doing that this weekend. Well, listen, folks, we'd like to thank the more than 3,000 of you who tuned in and watched last week's episode with DeMaurice Smith, Executive Director of the NFL Players Association. If you missed an excellent guest in DeMaurice Smith, we encourage you to go back to episode 9, Inside the NFL, to catch our interview with the NFL's DeMaurice Smith. Let's hit our first break, and we will be back with this week's headline.
Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs. We stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic. From beginning programs to rec leagues, travel clubs to summer programs, we develop the young and experienced players alike. Next Level Lacrosse has a rich tradition of running the best middle and high school lacrosse leagues in the DMV area. You'll find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com or call 240-497-1460.
Let's get social. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube, search Turner and O'Neill and click subscribe. Winsight Media. Winsight delivers connections and intelligence to four of the fastest growing verticals: convenience retailing, grocery businesses, restaurants, and non-commercial food service through broad and cutting-edge platforms. No company is better positioned to meet the food industry's needs than Winsight. Connect with us at www.winsightmedia.com.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Shane Benson, Todd Bradley, Paula Cross, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Daniel Richard, Noah Richard, Andrea Tarones. If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. One Headline is brought to you by
Healthy Baller is dedicated to developing athletes at any level through customized programs created by our world-class trainers. Healthy Baller creates an unparalleled training experience centered around the athlete and coach relationship. Between our physical therapy team and strength and conditioning staff, we create an all-encompassing process to help injured athletes return to the field. Become your own success story. We offer group and team training, individual workouts, or semi-private training. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com.
portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. This week's headline today is International Women's Day, where we celebrate the cultural, political, and socioeconomic achievements of women. While there's no specific distinction in celebrating this day for women in sports, let's discuss the importance of women in sports. Coach Turner.
When I think of your question there, or your statement there for us to discuss it, I think of different sports. I think of women's soccer. I think of USA women's basketball. I go to individuals like Serena Williams. Go to individuals like Cheryl Swoops. Cheryl Miller. Those are the ones that start, resonate with you immediately. Who are pioneers in the sport during their time. And I just keep saying it. Women don't get the credit that they deserve in most anything. And I watch those teams that I talked about just now, and I say, like, those teams have shown why women should be paid way more in sports, and why they should be paid the equal to the men, and not keep being downgraded in terms of the economic piece to the game. I think they have stood for so much more in sports sometimes than even the men have. Their willingness to stand up for all the issues that come on in the world, they've done it in a lot of ways the best. And a lot of times have stepped up first before anybody else. And then you think of so many people who are women in life who resonate for myself, and you think of the women we talked about during Black History Month. Rosa Parks, Michelle Obama, now our Mrs. Harris, our VP, and there's so many more. Oprah Winfrey, and I can keep going and going and going for the women who stand strong and have played an important part in the history of sports and in life and in social, political areas. We got to continue to do more and stand strong and stand by them and support them in the way that they need to be supported.
Coach O'Neal.
Coach Turner, well said. My first statement, women are badass.
Absolutely.
Total badass. And it for me, it took a while, as a young athlete, just growing up. It took me as a father of two girls, the husband to a strongest woman I know, the son of the most angelic lady, but to really see how badass women really are. And it's small-minded, most men that make, that really ruin it, and have ruined it for years. And all the women, strong women you just mentioned, I could not agree more. And when I talk about taking that for granted, but then I see how strong my daughters are, because I'm going to take it into that family aspect, and then I see what my wife does, and just how incredibly well-rounded, almost to the point where I'm like, I'm not as strong as her. I'm not even close to that, or as smart and as thoughtful and as organized. But when you take it into sport, I could not agree more. I just want to go back to the small-mindedness of most men. I'll say it, most men who damage that. And more needs to be done. And having one day, right, recognizing women in sports as one day, I mean, it should be month, it should be half a year, it should be every day.
I'm going to come back on that. And I think for me, and I didn't say this in the beginning, but listening to you say what you just said, Casey, is being a young man who grew up with his mom playing both roles.
Yeah.
Is why it's so important for me. You as a youth, it's stuff you don't talk about. Going to sports, seeing my teammates' dads there. But my dad on the sideline was my mom.
Yeah.
She carried the load for both and for me. And so it's always been for me that women stand strong in the world, even when they aren't given the credit that they're deserving of. And to see my mom having done that for myself and my brothers and my sister, it just women have a strong place in my heart, period. And being blessed to have a wife who pushes me to be the best version of me allows me to always feel like they're the part of the human race I got to stand up for every opportunity that I get.
So before you go, Kurtis, here, I would say that 95% of those red-blooded, alpha males feel the same way about their moms. Everybody loves their mom. But what happens after that? So when I'm talking about that small-mindedness, it's such a double standard in the world, right? I love my mom. I'll do anything for my mom, but okay, well, why aren't we celebrating women more often? And why aren't we celebrating? So I just think that double standard, and that goes into a whole different conversation. But I stand by my statement. Women are badass. And you know what? They're tougher than men. Done. On record.
So if we're going to channel International Women's Day into sports, the names I think of are Billie Jean King.
Yep.
I got a chance to meet her. Cheryl Miller, Serena Williams, Florence Griffith Joyner, Lisa Leslie, Monet Davis, Pat Summitt. Those are the names I think of. But the three most important names to me in women's sports, you'll never guess. If you had to guess who the most important name to me in women's sports is, give me one.
Can you give me the sport, or would that give it away?
Basketball. And do you have one? You should. I'm not going to make y'all guess. Maybe it's too hard.
Anna Bradley.
Tony Shropshire,
Oh,
Tracy Weish, and Anna Bradley. You three made me love this sport. So thank you for doing that. Not a woman, but Mr. Bill Lindsay made me love this sport and made me respect women in the sport, as I was the manager for that team at Montgomery Blair High School for a couple of years. It starts with Tony Shropshire, Tracy Weish, Anna Bradley, certified badasses.
Yes, they were.
So I thank you three women. I know two of you are listening. I don't know where Anna is, but I thank you three for helping me to curate my love for the women's sport, which allowed me to be around the sport, coach the sport, referee the sport, call the sport, and now have fond memories of the young women who I've seen go from 13 years old to 35 years old on my watch. That's who I think of. And those women have done a lot for me. Those last three in particular, most importantly. And that is your one headline.
Be sure to listen now at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. Gene the Barber has been in the business of making you look good for more than 20 years. Kids cuts, adult cuts, men and women, Gene has the experience and style you're looking for. Contact Gene the Barber for an appointment by calling him direct, 240-687-7253. Our producer uses Gene the Barber, and he's available for your next barbershop visit as well. Call 240-687-7253 and tell him Turner and O'Neill sent you.
A Squared Home and Office Solutions is the go-to source for home or office network and audiovisual solutions. We can help with smart home integration, wireless networking, media rooms, security systems, and more. We will link technology to your style seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
The Starting Five is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. The Starting Five. Welcome back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. I'm your host, Kurtis Cross, and I'm with Coach Steve Turner, Coach Casey O'Neill, and of course, our engineer is DJ Krissy. We are up to our weekly starting five questions asked of each coach. They've never heard or seen these questions before, and they each have 30 seconds to answer these questions. If they go over their 30 seconds, DJ Krissy, what will happen? She gonna fire that ding on you, Hollywood. She gonna fire that ding.
Sounds like getting in the ring.
So
Let's go.
stay in your lane, brother. Stay in your lane, you buckaroo.
This is gonna be the week.
But she's already predicting you're going over.
So you've seen the questions.
I didn't say it was gonna be him.
Oh,
calling me out.
I bring gifts and shade just gets thrown.
I just.
I'll
said
stay
it
in my
wasn't-
lane.
Okay.
I am the king of Zamunda.
Pennsylvania. That's coming to America. Yeah.
But you're on. That was funny. That was funny. Claire, is it Claire?
Claire. Yeah.
Yes. Give it to us.
Pennsylvania. Virginia.
All right. I'm going to start with Coach O'Neill. Best memory with your children. Every week it's best memory with your children.
I'm going to get to 20 seconds. Best memory with my children. You know what? It was being with Cole and Chloe when Claire was born.
That was
The
probably
last
pretty
one
damn
being
awesome.
born, all in the hospital that night, late at night, long, a lot of labor for Mrs. O'Neill. Another reason why women are the strongest ever.
What?
But
Exactly.
so that moment right there, there's a picture of it. Proudest moment.
All right. Best memory with your children, sir.
There's not one.
All right. Well, then give me best with Christian and give me best with Jared.
No, I mean, they're actually the same.
Okay.
But I think there's so many of them.
All right. Okay.
But the ones that stand out the most, my first time holding both of them.
All right.
Amen. Amen.
All right. You may have each had this moment. Best moment with Adam was when the day they look at you and you recognize that they want to be just like you. That for me, that's huge. And for Chelsea, probably getting into the private school. So far. Anyway, this is not my starting five, it's yours. So let's go back to you. You get to put 5 things in a locker. These 5 things will tell your life story to someone who never knew you. What are those 5 things?
All my photos. Music collection.
Okay.
My rings.
There you go. I was thinking that one.
And my wedding album.
Okay. A copy of TNO episode?
No, articles of all my sports. Me
right.
playing when I was playing.
Okay. I'm going to give you a break real quick. Krissy, one thing you'd put in a box for people to know who I am. I'm just tossing one your way.
Headphones.
I was going to say that. I was going to say microphone. I was going to say microphone.
Headphones. Never without the headphones.
For you, sir, Coach O'Neill, 5 things we're putting in a box or a locker so someone can know exactly who you are. They can they can put together something to know who this guy was.
Definitely go with, I like the photos. Big family photo. It's got to be. Rings. Got to do the rings. I might have a whistle in there. People might know this. I wear hats sometime on the show, but there's a couple hats I love, especially the MLB, Washington Nationals. Got to have that.
Right.
And I might have some Hollywood shades in there, man. Some nice.
Okay.
I don't know. I couldn't come up with the 5th one. The Bible? Yes. Absolutely.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I was guessing you would say.
Thank you. That's awesome. A cross. Probably a cross. That would be great.
And then-
Kurtis, you know me better.
In an archived episode of TNO?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Coming right back to you. Starting from scratch. And I'm going to give my example. What 3 things are you looking for in a player when building your team if you were starting from scratch? For me, the best defender will play for me. The fastest person typically will start, and then work ethic. That's what I look for. So we're coming back to you. What are you looking for?
First and foremost, the speed. Doesn't have to be that north-south speed.
Okay.
It can be lateral.
Sideline to sideline, baby.
It can be recovery. It can be brain speed. Just thinking fast, got to have the speed, got to be competitive. I've said this a million times. You've got to want to compete, whether it is a drill, whether it's something just getting first in line. You got to be competitive. And the last one, the toughness, man. The toughness. I don't care how big you are, how short. You have got to be, you got to be tough. You got to be tough because every day is just a new journey. It's a new practice, and who gives a shit? Let's just go play.
Defense. I want to see a guy that's willing to make his mark on defense. That's the easiest way to coach Turner's heart.
All right.
Willingness to compete would be number 2. And I'm going to say the third is I want to see the person who's willing to put we over me.
Okay.
Boom.
All right, I think we all agree. I did leave this out. For me, it always had to be, you got to be a good person. You got to be a good person. I don't care if you can jump out the gym, if you're late every day, if you have the wrong attitude,
that's why I think for me, there's a lot that goes into we over me.
Right, yes. What single thing about you adds most value to the world?
My willingness to care about others, even sometimes before I care about myself.
That's always been you, sir.
You literally just stole the words out of my mouth.
For him or for you?
I was going to say about that care factor, but the problem with me is sometimes maybe I care a little bit too much about what others think as opposed, because I think Cole said it once, and it was the proudest. You asked him when he was interviewed, and Jared, what's a cool thing about your dad? And he said, he's nice to everybody. And I think, you know what? I'll take that. I think I'm nice to everybody.
All right.
To a fault sometimes.
Yeah, I'd rather see that though, right? Last question. You've traveled. So tell me the top destination you've been to that you would say is a must for someone who has never been there. Top destination.
I've been to some great places. I'm going to go New Zealand.
Oh, you've been?
I've been to New Zealand.
Okay.
It's been a long time. I've been to Brazil, all over Europe, but and Ireland too. But New Zealand, there's just something about that South Pacific. Those people. There's no crocs down there, bad snakes. I mean, just go there and explore and enjoy it. They filmed the dang Lord of the Rings down there. I mean, it looks like that.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Coach Turner, where you've been? For me, if it was domestic, it's Sedona, Arizona. Okay. I think everyone
been there.
Needs to get there. You've been there?
Yeah.
We haven't had that talk. Wow. This is one of my favorite cities in the U.S.
Amazing. Very eclectic, but you get out into those red rocks. Woo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game changer.
And then I would say
He's thinking.
the Berry Islands. If you're going to go like Caribbean. I haven't been a ton of places internationally. Caracas, Venezuela is the most beautiful city I've seen at night. But I haven't done the Europe and Africa, New Zealand thing, but the Berry Islands, just beautiful. Coach Turner.
I don't know.
Las Vegas, baby.
No, I'm kidding. If you just want to go and lose your mind, yes, Vegas. I don't know. There's a lot of places domestically that I would say. I mean, Miami is obviously my favorite.
It's amazing.
It's heaven on earth for me.
Okay.
But outside, Aruba.
Never been.
Aruba.
Never been.
Aruba's.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting five. The starting five. O'Neill Development is a custom builder in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore. Recognized nationally as a premier builder, O'Neill Development has received awards for historic restoration and urban infill work. Committed to best practices in green building, O'Neill Development also provides support in budgeting, architect selection, and design development during the critical stages of planning. O'Neill Development, building, remodeling, and development since 1975. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Body and Beyond Wellness is acupuncture and wellness consulting. Our peaceful oasis is nestled just outside the Washington, D.C. Beltway. Our acupuncture treatments, workshops, and other wellness offerings will have you feeling restored, renewed, and revived. A limited appointment schedule is now available, but you must call in advance to schedule. Call 301-758-7980 or visit www.thebodyandbeyond.com for more info. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by...
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Current social distancing does not allow for event gatherings in the traditional sense. When it's time to plan your bar bat mitzvah, office party, sweet 16, or any event, we've got your party solution. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event experts. Our virtual events division has perfected an entertainment experience like none other. We bring the celebration to you. Contact us for virtual trivia, office parties, nightclub nights, or any event. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event solution. Visit www.mapdja.com or call 301-942-4500.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Ladies and gentlemen, each week we are fired up to introduce our guest to you. Today is certainly no exception. From his days at the Takoma Park Boys and Girls Club to the University of Maryland, from being the NBA's Rookie of the Year to a 3-time NBA All-Star, Steve Francis is now the owner of the TBL's Houston Push. We are so very pleased to welcome to the show Mr. Steve Francis. Steve, how's it going today, fella?
Oh, man, I haven't had a Maryland introduction like that since Coalfield House, so it feels great.
Oh, Steve. Well, I think you know at least one of these gentlemen in the studio. Coach Turner, talk to our man, Steve.
Steve, welcome to the Take a TO show. I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to be with us today.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me on. First of all, guys, I know it's a little loud. I just picked my 13-year-old from school. But let me just tell y'all about Steve, and I'm not just saying it because you're on the phone. But, like, when I was younger, man, his mom kind of took me under, my wing, her wing, when she seen me going through so many things. And I never knew it as I continually got older why she was in my life. And she's like a second mom to me. I just wanted to let y'all know that. But Steve is little Steve to her compared to me. So, but I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to tell Mom hello, Steve.
Thanks, man.
That's it.
Thank you.
We are. Yeah, no doubt.
And we have Coach O'Neill in the studio as well.
Steve, honored.
How you doing?
I'm great. Honored to have you on the podcast here. So Steve Turner, Coach Turner is like my big brother. We've worked together at Gonzaga High School for 14, 15 years now together. So honored to have you. I'm a huge fan and just can't wait to chop it up. So thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So, Steve, I want to start with a little history here. I first met you in 90 or 92 at the Takoma Park Boys and Girls Club. I was just coming on as a coach. It was under the leadership of Tony Langley, where I was on his staff, where this young man, Steve Francis, was on the field and on the basketball court. At that time, you were a standout, no question, you were a standout. And then I did not see you play much after you aged out of our program until one night, Tony picked me up and said, we're going to Allegheny County, Maryland. Tony told me to take a ride to come see you play. I hitched that ride, and let me tell you, it was like alley-oop central that night. I was amazed at your skill set and how you continued to just get better. But I've got to take it back to Lee Jordan Field, where we first met. We were in football practice. Wow. And the players were running hills, and you told me, because I was running drills on the hills, that you were going to have your brother beat me up for making you run hills. So, Steve, here's my question. Here's my question. Am I safe now? Because I've been running from Terry for years now. Can you just tell me, am I safe now?
I think so. And you know what, man? That sounds like something to try to get out of a drill in those hills, man. Oh, my God. Oh, well, probably crap. Oh, my God.
Yes, Steve, I've been running from him. I know he used to work as a butcher, and I've been running from Terry for years. So I can finally shake his hand now.
Well, that's Jeff. Jeff's the butcher. So
I'm
either
sorry.
one of them, it don't make a difference.
Either one of them. You were going to put your brother on me. I was scared of Steve Francis's brothers. Coach Turner, what's your question? Go ahead, Steve, please.
Steve, go ahead.
I was about to say it's so funny, man. People didn't know. Like, I told people, I was like, man, I wish I could have played football because that was my passion when I was younger. But when I got to high school, they lit me up. So it only made me stop playing football. Right there on Blair Field, Steve. I couldn't follow you there.
Oh, man.
I quit.
Well, Steve, you were a standout. I was so happy to have been a part of a couple of years of watching you play. And whenever I mention your name, people are like, you got to coach him? And I have to correct them and say, I coached him in football. I'm not responsible for any of his basketball. Football is what I coached him in. Anyway, Coach Turner, what you got?
Steve, I want to start off with life after basketball because there's a lot of things that you are doing in the communities now that I don't think a lot of people know or even understand. So I want you to talk to us right now about your foundation and the things that you are doing, partnering up with other groups to help different people in the community.
I think, thank you for touching on that. I think for me, like a lot of players, and they very seldom mention it, after the NBA, a lot of people don't know what to do. Some people, they get on television, they try to coach, open businesses, travel, and all those things. But over my NBA career, I had my foundation giving back. But to full-time commit myself to it was something that I grew up with. Like you mentioned earlier, the stories of Takoma Park. That was my first donation when 1999 was back to the Boys and Girls Club. But that's the history. But as of late, our foundation is teamed up with the mayor of both Houston and Washington, D.C. also. So, we've been real active in the community. This summer in D.C., we're going to start some summer leagues down at the new recreation center on Girard Street. So there's been a lot of stuff, Steve.
I love it. I'm glad you're doing it. And the people need to know that you're out here giving back to the youth of today.
Yes, he is.
Steve, Coach O'Neal here.
Yeah,
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, if you log on to our website, the Steve Francis Foundation, like I said, we began in 99. In 2004, we upped it and decided to, throw my mom and her memory a scholarship program, $10,000 a year to people with low income, community service in the Boys and Girls Club, local Boys and Girls Club, maintain a 2.5 grade point average. And also the references from the guidance counselors to me are, you can hide your grades, that, but you can't hide the guidance counselors, all the reports that they get in the building. So those are the people that we try to communicate with through the school system.
Love it.
Steve, Coach O'Neal here, and you mentioned life after basketball, or Coach Turner asked you about that, but I always say this to a lot of the guests we have on this podcast is that we have a lot of young people that listen to this, whether they play basketball, lacrosse, football, whatever it is, baseball. And a lot of the kids today have the ideal of, with social media, like the quick action, right? I'm going to make it. I'm going to get into make my varsity team. I'm going to make my college scholarship. And so what I want you to talk about really is the work that was put in, that routine leading up to it. Because again, I hope you understand what I'm saying with the kids, like thinking they can just.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that a little bit? Because so many young folks listen, and to hear somebody like you talk about that work ethic and then life after hoops.
I think for us, in our era and eras before, we were blessed. And it's a yin and a yang with the social media that's going on now. We had our VCR tapes, our VHS beta tapes,
right,
to go back and study. So I think a lot of the kids are missing the studying aspect of what they did the game before or to prepare. It's right there for them to do. And of course, with all the, the AAU programs, and there's a lot of watered down things out there. And for me, that's my job to do exactly what you're saying now, to try to prevent as much of that I can handle with some of the outreaches and the people that I know. But, a lot of it is about, your routine. You know, are you prepared to sacrifice some computer time? Are you willing to sacrifice PlayStation or things like that? So I think it's a whole package now. You have to be a complete student athlete. In my sport, I've seen the stats and the ratios of guys coming in, leaving the league so early with nothing to do, and they're burning their money, and the rates are real high now. So,
Right.
Just a little education for me. That's what I'm out there trying to get.
Steve,
Thank you.
clearly you recognize that after basketball you wanted to give back. Please discuss some of what you're doing. I know you touched on that earlier. Beyond the game we all love, and what really struck a nerve with me, or struck a chord with me, is most specifically your scholarship program, which is approaching $1 million in scholarships since you started it,
Yeah.
awarded to Houston high school seniors. We're not talking about, kids who can get scholarships otherwise, or kids who may be privileged to have an inroads to scholarships. You're talking about kids, you're talking about character, you're talking about making the grade.
Yeah.
You're almost at $1 million, Steve. Talk to me about that.
We had a couple off years, as you can see, with the corona and a lot of people getting sick, and we transferred our offices. So now, with our scholarship programs, we have a lot of our kids who went on to numerous four-year schools, Stanford, Texas A&M, and graduated. Some of them come back and work for us. We have a kid who's actually one of the top sports agents here in Houston, who I think I'm going to have to hire to work for my basketball program, which is great for me. And also in Washington, D.C., we refurbished last summer Valley Green in the hood in Southeast, and went over there and refurbished the whole basketball court. And we're doing that this year at Columbia Heights, like I was talking about earlier this summer. So just trying to give guys opportunities to do different things for the hood. And another thing, Steve, to tell you, that we're going to start summer leagues outdoors once the mayor, Mrs. Lovely, Madam Miss Muriel Bowser, helps us open some gyms in Washington, D.C., so I can come see Gonzaga play and, come check out some basketball in the city. So we're going to start doing a lot of more outreach with guys who are known in the Washington area. So we don't want, people who run these rec centers just to try to funnel the kids to AAU programs and to agents. And that's what's water in Washington, D.C. down now, basketball-wise.
So, and beyond these colleges, you've got guys working at Google, you've got ladies working at BP. I mean, we're not talking about a scholarship and then after that, who knows what happens. You're putting people in places. Steve, we all know that a rising tide raises all boats. Thank you for getting up that ladder and reaching back and pulling some people with you. And you've done that. You've clearly done that, Steve. And we can all appreciate what you've done. And I'm sure those young people appreciate what you've done.
And it's to me because we've lived it. I've seen so many people who had potential to be, better than me growing up. Guys on my team who just the discipline area wasn't there. But, sometimes when you live in a broken home, or even when you're in poverty, we got kids who parents only make $8,000 a year just off of what they get from the government. But they're smart students with 3.5 and 4.0s, and we don't want to miss that. We don't want to throw those kids away. So those are the ones we attack.
My man.
Steve, you said something in reference to the outdoor summer league. What age groups are you guys going to work with having those summer leagues?
Well, at Columbia Heights in Washington, D.C., I teamed up with DPR, Delano Hunter, Barry Hunter, who runs Headbanger Boxing in Southeast D.C. So we're bringing everything to Columbia Heights to have it one of the premier boxing and basketball venues in Washington, D.C. It's up to date, and as we speak right now, we're inserting a weight room, recovery room, study hall area. Hopefully we'll get some more sponsors in to help us with the floor, but we have a basketball sponsor. But I think the academic aspect of mental health is our focus for these kids in that area.
That's huge, and it's definitely needed. All right, I brought you my first question. I brought you after life after basketball. Let's go back to Lil Stevie. What was the drive?
Well, he's right here. He's sitting right here next to him. That one.
I'm talking about that little dude that we used to kick off the court, and throw his ball down the hill, and wouldn't let him get on the court. What? Steve,
when your mom gave me that look, I was straighten up. But, yeah, go ahead.
Steve,
I was straighten up.
Steve, what was that driving force that got you to your pinnacle? I mean, you made it. There's not many kids. There's not many young men, and even now the young women who can say they played professional in the biggest league, in the biggest spotlight. You did that, and I know your story more than probably most of the people who are listening. You had some ups and downs, and you had some struggles, but you were always determined, and you kept fighting, which got you to where you are. But what was that one thing in life that made you say, I got to do this, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get myself there?
I think, as you know, when I was about 12, 13, 14, I was always the smallest player. Everybody else was 5'2", 5'3". I was like 4'9", 4'10". And, of course, I always started, I wanted to play every minute. But for me to do that, I had to think smallest guy. I had to get those steals. I had to play full court. So, playing against guys who are tall, like Rutherford, you had Jamar, all these guys are way bigger than me. And, I had the extra hustle and take bumps and bruises. So that started at a young age. As confidence goes, and stuff does it. And playing with you at the flag up, when you got a flag goes, it's hard that I had to get off those courts.
I know you were determined. You never stop fighting the guys that were bigger than you, taller than you, and you ended up whipping up on all of them.
Steve, Coach.
And it wasn't, and to me, Coach, let me just tell you how surprised I'm. Like, guys who are lockdown guys, just to score one bucket on them, like, as a young guy where we're from, it's like you can keep that high for about a week or two. Like, all right, I scored two. At least I scored two.
Yep.
At least I scored two. Like, I would take that with me, and work on some other things.
Steve, Coach O'Neal here. I'm going to go back to Coach Turner's question here a little bit deeper. So, going back again, when you realize or began to realize, as you had that heart of a lion, that you had something special in your basketball game, was it you that continually kind of believed in yourself, or was it somebody else that believed in you and really pushed you over the top where you got to where you are?
I think because I fell in love with it. It wasn't just the competition of trying to be better. I just fell in love with basketball. Eat, sleep in the hallway, the sub shop in my neighborhood. Like, I just really turned into a basketball. And that love right there just, gave me the strength to continue to, want to practice and play. And plus, I didn't the corner. So that was a big thing for me.
And a follow-up to that, I think it's taken for granted a lot with kids who have the same dreams of going to the NBA or even playing Division I college basketball, that if they don't, and we've heard guests before, if they don't love the sport, like you just mentioned, eat, sleep, breathe it, that it's usually not going to pan out. Would you agree with that?
The way that I did it was out of survival. It was out of survival. Excuse me, my phone. A lot. Mine was out of survival because to get out of Maple Avenue, get out of here, because I know the statistics are not high for people, where I come from. But the support system is definitely key. It was a whole village for myself and a lot of other people.
Thank you,
Steve. I'm gonna ask you one question about basketball. Give me your greatest basketball moment.
I think my greatest, and I think AAU when, here we go. You talk about stories in my life. When I was able to play with Silver Spring Boys and Girls Club, and we went up against the mighty Kingman Pythons with all Americans, and we didn't win the game. We were out muscled, we were out coached, we were out disciplined, as far as playing against a high intense game. And I played a phenomenal game and was able after that to move on and travel and see the world in AAU at 12 years old. And I think that was a change in my basketball career right there.
Steve, is that Kingman Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, I think Steve, you said that. I think I wrote with you that game.
You did ride with me that game, and I still have pictures from that game. So I gotta dig those pictures up and get them to you because I still, my mom, she kept all those pictures. I still have pictures from that game.
My grandfather did some work down there.
Yeah, so we we just did a Kingman Boys and Girls Club. They just started their Hall of Fame 3 years ago, and Anwar McQueen was inducted first. Some older guys from Washington. So I've been in the city, Steve, as you know, just trying to get the camaraderie of basketball and everybody learning how to play together and stay from just working out by themselves all the time. I think we can get, further. As you know, that area makes up 75% of the NBA, that area alone.
Steve, last question from me, Coach O'Neal here again. If it's not basketball, and you kind of already answered this, your love of football as well. If it's not basketball, it's not football, what sport is Steve Francis dominating in?
What sport? Basketball, football. I like wakeboarding and cornhole.
My man.
Wakeboarding and
Steve,
cornhole on the beach in West Palm Beach.
Whatever, Steve. I've seen you on a football field, and I've seen you run power right, quarterback sweep left, and take it all the way down the field. So don't fake, Steve. You was a football player now.
No, I told him to take away football. I said no football, no basketball.
Oh, you
took it away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Take it away because you already answered that. You love football too.
Football away because they didn't know. Nobody knows how good I was at football.
Oh, I know. Steve, let me tell you, this kid here. Well, he's not a kid. He's a grown man. He was, just so you know, he was among the oldest kids. I was 17 when I coached. Steve was like 12 or 13, and he was a killer. He was out there killing them. I'm telling you what I know about Steve Francis.
What I know is we're setting up a cornhole game this summer. I don't care where it is, on a beach, somewhere cool.
Hey, look, we go to Salisbury, Maryland out there somewhere. Go out to the Brew River and chill out.
Let's go.
I love it out there.
This isn't a question, Steve. This is really more of a statement. Like, we've had a brotherhood because of the relationship through you playing with the Blue Devils, you and my brother and sister all being in the same class, my mom taking you under like you were one of our own, and we still look at you that way. I just want you to know, like, my enjoyment of being able to see you grow as a young man, as a player, as an athlete. Like, I literally, that summer down at the Kennerly, I think was one of the most unbelievable summers of summer basketball ever played here in the DMV. And I remember bringing my best friend down there, who's Jared, my youngest son's godfather, Matt Sturmer, who went to Springbrook. And Matt played at the Boys and Girls Club too. And we would come down every weekend to watch you and Jason put on a damn show. And and the reason I talk about this is because I watched you, like you said, fall in love with the basketball, and you play the game.
Yeah.
That's how you played the game. I never saw you like in this competition against everybody else. I watched you play like you were telling a story through the game. And there's not a lot of people that I can say that about who've ever played the game professionally or played basketball, period. You were electrifying.
I appreciate that.
You were fun to watch. You showed during the game how much you loved this game and how much it meant to you. And you exuded that every time that you stepped on the floor. And I want to just tell you thank you for doing that, giving back to our community, giving back to me as one of your older brothers. And, man, I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm just thankful for all the things that you've been able to do and accomplish and keep doing, and just know you always have me here to support you.
I appreciate that. It took like 35 years to get that out of him, but hey.
Hey, look, I'm giving you your roses while you're here. I didn't want to give you your roses later. I'm giving you roses while you're here, and I love you, boy. I appreciate you.
No doubt. Love you too. Absolutely.
Right. So,
man.
Steve,
and
go ahead,
when
please.
I'm in the city, I would love to come by, man. I would definitely come in wherever y'all at, or I don't know how y'all do it.
We'd love to have you.
Let's do it. So I got one small
No
statement
doubt.
and then one last question. My statement is, you have touched a lot of people, Steve. I have a cousin named Kareem in Atlanta, Georgia, who he was visiting one time, and you were at the boys club, and we must have had a practice or something, and he got to play against you. We didn't know who you were then. And later in life, every time I see him, I got to play against Steve Francis. I got to play against Steve Francis. You know, it was a pickup game or something. My cousin Kareem is like 6'4", and he played for Georgia State. And that's his biggest moment for him. But so thank you for that. You're touching people you don't even know. I'm sure his two daughters now know, or his daughter and son, I'm sure they know that story too. Now, so look, we're going to put you to the test. We have something here called the Starting Five. I ask both coaches 5 questions they never heard, and they get 30 seconds to answer it. You're only going to get one question, but if you go over your 30 seconds, Krissy's going to hit this button. So now, I'm going to ask you one, so here goes. My question to you is as follows. We're going to keep it in DC. Best go-go band. We're going to leave out leave out Chuck Brown because he's in his own category. Best go-go band, Backyard, Junkyard, or RE? Give it to me, Steve.
Rare Essence.
My man, there you go. All right, I love that answer. It's got to be
and I grew up on Backyard. Those are my guys, like my friends.
Right, so it's RAREESSENCE. There you go. Look, Steve, we appreciate your time for joining us today. Say hello to your son in the car. We appreciate you giving us this opportunity to chat it up. And we certainly wish you well in your ownership role with the Houston Push and, of course, the Steve Francis Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, taking a TO with us today, a gentleman who can always call DC home, former NBA All-Star and Rookie of the Year, Mr. Steve Francis.
Steve, man, thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you this week.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, fella.
Thank you.
He said he hasn't had an intro like that since Cole Fieldhouse.
There you go.
Right? I introed him better than he got in the last several years. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Steve Francis. We're going to chop this up in a minute. But, Krissy, let's go ahead and let's hear a word from our sponsors. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By advertising with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. In Season 1, we reached a total of more than 100,000 listeners, viewers, subscribers, and website visitors combined. Your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Advertising with Turner and O'Neill equals exposure on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and more than 15 listening platforms total. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
Let's get social. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and then click subscribe. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently. We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Submit Your Idea.
The Tamara Cusick Team. Ready, set, sold. Real estate is more than just houses. It's about people too. The Tamara Cusick Team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. The Tamara Cusick Team isn't just a partner. They literally sold us the home where the Take a TO broadcasts from each week. Visit www.tamara4homes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. We are back with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Thanks for listening and watching as we enjoy meeting you here each week. Gentlemen, oh man, Steve Francis. Like I said, the last time I saw him as a kid would have been, good Lord, maybe 92, 93 on that Lee Jordan field. We didn't have any goalposts. And I think towards the end of his tenure, we started having one home game a year. The county, it was MCRD. The county would give us one home game, and that's actually where I learned how to barbecue. One of the coaches taught me how to grill because we were grilling up there, selling food. And he was a dynamic talent on the football field. You mentioned something earlier, Coach O'Neal, what you're looking for in players. I think of Allen Iverson. I think of Russell Westbrook. I think of guys like Doug Flutie. Steve Francis is a tough guy. He's a legitimate tough guy. Yeah. He was smaller than everyone. Yeah. And if I'm pretty sure he played quarterback, and he would get hit, and he was a legitimate tough guy. But here's what I know about Steve Francis. The 3 things I take from that interview. 1, selfishly, I can stop running from his brothers now because they're not coming after me. All of our guests seem to mention that social media thing, about how important that is, and he's giving back. He recognizes there are kids who are smart kids who just don't have the opportunities, and they just need someone to recognize that there's something special in them. We all know we can't save every kid. Every kid might not take to the advice. I like to say I can teach, but the lesson has to want to be learned.
Right.
He's out there. He's finding kids at 2.5 and higher, kids that he can connect with their counselors in school, and good character kids. And I ran the numbers. He's almost at $1 million in scholarships that he has given out, or that kids have earned. He's not giving away anything. You're earning it. And that's what you want to see out of your, leaders. I don't care if you're black, you're white, you're whatever. We want to see our leaders push these young people.
I loved how he talked about, and we talk about this with coaching, all of us here at this table, character. And him saying that he's reading those character reference letters.
Right.
Like that part is big, because I think sometimes that's something that gets kind of missed when you start looking at people to, I don't want to say judge, but
you're making assessments.
Assessments is a much better word. We so many times get judged and have assessments on athletic ability,
right?
Our aptitude,
right?
But I think something that makes people stronger than that of the best player on the team is the kid who has the best character on the team.
So we care about their 40 time. We care about their vertical.
Sure.
We care about
that's
their
the first
deadlift.
thing.
We're numbers driven, right?
We're numbers driven. We're the analytics jump to that so much. But I've always had, at least for me, and when I look at our starting 5, there's always been a kid on that starting 5 that wasn't always necessarily the best player.
Right.
Some people would say, "Oh, well, why isn't the guy that you play as a 6th or 7th man starting when he's a better basketball player?"
Right.
It's not always that. You got to have that guy who's smart, that understands what you want to have happen, isn't becoming a ball stopper because when it gets to him, he becomes the black hole and he wants to shoot and take every shot. You got to have a guy that can get everybody in position to understand the things that you want. Sometimes when the best players aren't the person to do that.
Right.
And to me, it comes down to character and people who those best players respect because of the things that other person will do that aren't necessarily the things that we glorify in athletics.
Because those people are labeled, right? They've already been labeled or told you're the best player or you're the best shooter or you're this or you're that. And you just mentioned that one player in your starting 5. He doesn't really have label. He's got 100 of them. He can take charges. He can box out.
Yep.
He can set good screens, make good decisions.
He's got that IQ, right?
Right, the IQ and the character. So there's no real label for that, right? It's just go score the basket, play good defense, you're tall, you're fast, or whatever it is. So the best part about this interview with Steve Francis, I'm still kind of like pinching myself right now, because I literally am such a fan, and I love what you brought up back to the starting 5 with the toughness that he had. And I loved in the interview, he's like, I had no choice. I had no choice from where he was coming from and sort of the, maybe the rough background he had. He's like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna survive in this sport. And we've talked about athletes before and that label or the stigma where athletes of his level are, microscoped, and any mistake or any tough times they've had is just it's completely magnified. And I'm listening to Steve Francis. I don't know how old is he? Probably 44, 45?
44. Just turned 44.
Killing it post NBA, doing good for others, yet people want to go back and remember You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some of the, he was only a 3-time All-Star. Like, are you kidding me? Look what this guy is doing. Unbelievable interview. Like I said, that guy.
Well, sometimes to get to something, you got to go through something.
Yes,
I believe that.
And I bet he loved this interview. The way you came in to bring him back to,
Takoma Park.
To like Scooper Pee Wee football. Like, he was laughing. I'm sure those guys like that don't get interviews like this. So thank you to you and you for bringing them on.
Of course.
Love
again, to get to something, you got to go through something. And Steve Francis, so what? He went to a couple of junior colleges, made it to Maryland, and they instantly jumped to number 5.
Yes.
Right. Let's not forget that this team went to number 5. The only kid to take 2 junior college teams, undefeated to the NA? What is it?
To the
junior college tournament. Yeah, he did that. And we were talking off camera and off mic about who was throwing him those alley-oops.
Rasan Johnson. Played at Gonzaga.
And I didn't emphasize it enough. All I know is that when we it seemed like it was, it's going to be winter, so at 4:30 it's dark. It seems like we're driving all through the night to get to Allegheny Community College to this old gym with wooden bleachers. But all I know is Steve comes out and I'm like, that's Steve Francis? Because what does he go, 6'3"? 6'3", I think, right? Yeah, and he wasn't always the biggest kid, but I swear I saw one off the backboard. I swear someone threw an alley-oop off the backboard, and he's jumping out the gym, and it was just a pleasure to see. And then to see him get drafted, to see him play in Houston. I feel like he had at least a couple years with Yao Ming.
Yes.
Yeah, did he get some time with Olajuwon?
No, maybe not.
Probably.
Definitely with Yao.
Yeah, he was with Yao.
Did he play with Tracy McGrady as well?
And Barkley.
Right.
Did he play with Tracy McGrady in Orlando or maybe Houston too, right?
He played with the Knicks for a year or two as well.
And then he played in Orlando as well.
It's Stevie franchise. Let's go.
Yeah. he was the face.
It's just,
and
the things he did on the floor was just, it's like poetry in motion.
Yeah.
To me, we talk about poetry in motion, Walter Payton. Steve had that same flow in his game when he was on the court. It was just exciting
because he's not 6'10". He's not like
And then if he hits you with the crossover,
the
DC crossover.
No, it's a real one. But you know where he's not going to cross me over because I'm not getting on a basketball course.
That's why he's not going to cross you over.
And his answer, because I'm not getting on a football field with him either, because I'm sure he's.
But you going to get him on cornhole?
Well, not wakeboard. He said wakeboarding too.
All right.
Oh, cornhole, it's on. Let's go. Let's. Steve, if you listen to this, I wasn't lying.
They do it. Lacrosse does a fundraiser that is a cornhole tournament.
I'm asking you, are you declaring right here, right now, that you are challenging him?
I'm setting it up. I'm setting it up.
It's going to be great.
And I've got at least,
it's going to be great.
I've got at least 4 cornhole boards in the warehouse right now.
Oh, we're setting it up. This is happening. Steve, we can't wait to get you back here for this cornhole tournament.
You know what you need to do? You need to start practicing. We're going to have an episode outside.
We're going to have all the guests. We're going to have Quentin. We're going to have D. Smith. We're going to have Caleb. We'll have AZ. We'll have everybody come in.
And
we'll
me and Steve on the grill. Because you got some grilling. You got some grilling utensils,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And
the weather's breaking. It's getting ready to get broken out.
Yeah.
All right. So I need you on the shrimp
manning the grill
and all that kind of stuff because you're the seafood guy, and we're going to do some things. But Steve Francis, you are cordially invited to come to our studio, which I will not say the address on the air, but at some point, Steve will let you know. We're doing cornhole right here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming right back with our weekly sports wrap-up. DJ Krissy, let's take it to break. Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerandoneill.com. Today's episode is sponsored by Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock, 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill can be found on more than 15 podcast platforms. Listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Spotify, and other popular podcast platforms. Tune in on your preferred podcast platform. Be sure to listen, subscribe, and spread the word. Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill records weekly with episode drops each Thursday at 11 a.m.
At Peace Players, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities in conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. We bridge divides between people through the game of basketball, and we develop young leaders who help to change perceptions. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Request a free claim review with the property loss professionals. Insurance Alliance Group. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. This week's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Now, our weekly sports wrap-up. Coach Turner, spring is about to be sprung. We're going to spring forward, and I am going to turn it over to you. We voted in the studio. Coach Turner's going to lead our weekly sports wrap-up, so I am now, I guess I'm one of the co-hosts. You're the host now. Take it over, sir.
We're going to get into a few things. We're going to start off, actually, throwing it at you today.
You coming my way.
I'm coming your way, Mr. Cross. All-Star Weekend.
Loved All-Star Weekend. Nice compact day with the three-point shootout, the skills competition, the dunk contest at halftime in the game. Unlike most people who want them to play and want to see a little bit more defense, I loved what I saw. I think it's a game for the fans. I don't know if they try to bill it any other way. I'm hearing things in the wrap-ups, on TNT about, they gave the fans a show. And if that's what they were going for, I think they did that. One of the first few plays, LeBron bounces it on the ground and Gobert just flushes it. Love seeing Dame and Steph just shoot from three-quarters court or half court. That was just, I loved what I saw.
I did love that.
And let's not forget, Giannis went 16 for 16.
Now I'm gonna go to the other one that I liked.
Okay.
Dame.
Right.
Steph.
Right.
CP3 all catching lobs and dunking it.
Right. Right?
The Steph one got me.
So CP3, where it got me is one of the last times I seen him really throw it down was in Gonzaga's gymnasium.
Okay.
When he was a senior, played in the DC Classic, and I remember up in my office, I can look over our court and I see this ball kind of get thrown out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, who in the hell are they throwing that to?
Right.
And he comes from baseline, two hands, boom,
And flushes it.
boom.
Right.
And so seeing him do that again last night, where he basically said, "Hey, I still can do this too."
Right. One of the things about Chris Paul, I will say, I've been lukewarm to Chris Paul over the years, not hating him or loving him or anything like that. To see his leadership in the last 3-4 years really gets me to appreciate him more. Phoenix should not be where they are, in my opinion, without the right leadership.
No chance.
And here he comes, just like the Tampa Bay Bucks and Brady, the leadership, right? And he comes in, and I guess I didn't pay as much attention because he was hurt a lot. But to see what he's doing now and in his humility in the interviews I saw before the game, I love what I saw to him. But I loved All-Star Weekend. I loved it.
And I think I'm going to talk a little more about Chris for that in that instance, is that his leadership off the court, how hard he promotes the HBCUs.
And he's the Players Association
president, right? He is a leader. Like
Right.
it's in his character, his DNA to lead, whether it be on or off the court. Coach O'Neill, let's talk a little lacrosse.
Oh, let's do it.
College lacrosse.
Yes.
Some really good games played this past weekend. But as I looked this morning at the new top 20, we've got some major matchups coming up this week. Virginia, Carolina, Denver, Georgetown, Maryland, Rutgers. All those teams that I named are currently sitting in the top 10, and they're going to be matched up against each other this week. Talk to us who you like. Right now I'm going to read off the top 5 real quick. Duke at 1, Maryland at 2, Carolina at 3, Georgetown at 4, Rutgers at 5, and then Virginia at 6, who I also mentioned in that. Talk to me about these teams and who do you think can eventually put themselves in the driver's seat ahead of everyone.
Sure. I'm going to start with the ones that most the people that follow college lacrosse are surprised. Maybe not surprised by. I think us coaches kind of knew what was building. But when you see Rutgers and Georgetown. Now, Georgetown, back in the early 2000s, had made a Final Four run, and there had not been as much success in the last decade. But what they're doing right now, I think in their first 2 games, they only allowed 2 goals. 2 goals. They held Villanova to 1 goal. They've got a mix of old and new. One of them being, I'm going to say this, local guy, TJ Haley from St. John's, is one of the leaders in college lacrosse in assists, and he's setting up the all-time leading scorer, and his name is running away from me right now for Georgetown. He broke every Georgetown record. And then Rutgers. Rutgers is having a heck of a start, and they've slowly been creeping in and making the Big Ten one of the best. Go ahead.
I know a Purple Eagle who committed to Rutgers.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan Splain, junior for us, class of 2022, is going to
about
Rutgers. And excited about it. But to see Georgetown, to see Rutgers, to see others outside of those ones that you named, UVA, UNC, Denver, and Maryland. Look, I think the college lacrosse season is what it is. It is a travesty that the Ivy Leagues are not playing right now.
No doubt.
Because of how good Cornell was going to be, how good Yale was going to be. I think Brown was going to have a great season. I think Princeton was going to have a great season. So you're not going to see those teams. But they're making it work. UNC is so talented. UVA is the same. I think you mentioned Duke at number 1. I mean, it is going to be a bloodbath because you don't see Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame's in that top 10.
Notre Dame is 10. They are currently 10. And then you start talking about some of the usual suspects. Syracuse is 8. They're in the top 10.
They slipped up against.
They have 1 loss.
They slipped up against Army, but then they went and just gave it to UVA and just planned lights out.
What about that alma mater of yours?
Lehigh's in that top 20.
Sitting at number 11 right now. They're almost inside the 10.
Look, huge game for them. They beat the Loyola Greyhounds last weekend. First time in program history they beat Loyola. Patriot League it's going to come down the wire. You're going to have Army, you're going to have Navy, you're going to have Loyola, you're going to have Lehigh. A lot is good to see in college lacrosse. It's fun to watch, folks. I'm telling you, Big Ten Network, ESPNU, ESPN Plus, ACC Network. Jump in because Coach Turner, I know you're going to be watching college lacrosse.
Oh, this is my time of the year.
But I love seeing Georgetown and Rutgers. Get ready for it. ACC, Big Ten, Patriot League, and Southern Conference, man. Don't sleep on these schools like High Point and Richmond. They are making names for themselves and will be a force to be reckoned with.
Mr. Cross, coming back to you.
Sir, bring it right here.
Blake Griffin
Right?
to Brooklyn.
Going
What do
to
you
Brooklyn.
think? Give me your ideas. What do you think?
Brooklyn is going to have to pay a luxury tax unless Detroit paid him out, which they did, and then Brooklyn does not have to pick up, some of his money. They can likely pay him a veteran minimum, not go over their cap, but they're going to have to go over their cap to do what they want to do. You and I talked about this off camera, so I'm not stealing this from you. I think the same thing. Where's the defense going to come from?
Yep.
That's my concern there. They're clearly the favorite in the East. Boston's not doing what they need to do right now. Miami has been banged up, and they look like they're coming back now. Milwaukee's kind of fair to middle, and they're 3rd place maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you still got to deal with Doc Rivers in Philly. But I'm concerned about Brooklyn's defense and a rookie coach. Great mind for the game, but their defense and a rookie coach, I'm wondering. I'm not sold.
What do you think he brings to their team, though?
Oh, he's going to bring athleticism. Mm-hmm. If that knee can stay healthy, or both knees, because I think he's had surgery on both knees. He's going to bring athleticism. The most important thing he's going to do is he's going to spell minutes for some guys. Like he can get out there. If he gives them 12 to 15 minutes a game, then, Durant's not going to have to be out there as long. Other guys aren't going to have to be out there as long. So he's a stopgap that buys minutes back, I think. I think that's what he does.
I'm going to go back real quick before I touch on this I'm going to give Maryland and our guest last week, DeMaurice Smith's son, is, I think, the most balanced team in college lacrosse. I didn't give them enough credit. And the young man who just broke Georgetown's all-time scoring record, got to give him props. His name is Jake Caraway. Unbelievable player. So,
I'm going to come back to you.
Mr. Griffin.
I'm coming back to you with
go
some,
to the Nets.
I'm coming back
Enjoy.
to you. I'm coming back to you with some lacrosse.
Okay.
Oh, wow. You ready today, ain't you?
No.
He loves it. It's almost spring,
Well,
baby.
one thing I want to give a shout out. It's the Alford brothers' birthday today.
Yes. Harry Alford, former guest.
Yes. Happy birthday, gentlemen.
But then I want to talk to you. Let's talk about Gonzaga lacrosse.
Let's do it.
You guys starting to get a little tuned up. Looks like things are changing and moving in the right direction. I believe you're definitely going to have a spring season. Talk to us about your team.
Well, right before we started the show, I've challenged the kids because we can't be in the weight room like we normally are. Usually competing against basketball, right in the fall and getting in there and doing the weightlifting and the speed work and training. The kids are making the most of it. I got a great text. They send me these ridiculous numbers they're putting up, whether it's a clean. So Mr. James Matton and Mr. Ian McGlynn showed me their cleans of 225. I got kids benching, 225 plus, trying to go up, front squats, back squats, all that stuff. The kids they are so excited about it. There's something about playing for your high school team, and I know you felt it too, just getting on the court with the kids that wear that same jersey as you. No knock on the club teams because they've kind of given us that gap. They've done a great job of letting the kids continue to play outside of school. I'm excited about this group. I think the biggest hurdle, Steve, is that we haven't been with them the amount of time that we normally would. So there, as any coach, that scare of the cohesiveness, sort of the mindset of the hard work that we need to put in. So a lot of it is a trust in our seniors and our captains who are doing an amazing job. They're watching the film on Zoom. And look, I'm excited to get to league play. I don't care who it is, just putting on that jersey, getting after it together, and having that sense of just camaraderie with the guys. We're going to have a good season. We're going to have a good team. And you know what we have? We got a bunch of kids who have that character. Mm-hmm. They have that kind of toughness, that want. And I think our practices and games are just, as we like to call it, it's just going to be organized chaos.
This last group will be championship week. It's March.
Ooh. Yes, it is.
Bring it.
March Madness.
Yes,
and this week is championship week in college basketball. So there are going to be some teams who are going to get some automatic bids. I'm starting to see that some of the top dogs got knocked off in the American East. Mm-hmm. UMBC got knocked off by UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell has a young man from I Street.
Mr. Blunt.
Alan Blunt and his brother Anthony. Both are playing on that team and now are playing in the championship. To Gonzaga, a unique, somebody from the American East will represent I Street in the NCAA tournament because the team that they're playing, Hartford, has a former player who's an assistant coach, Tom Devitt, as a coach on that Hartford staff. So someone in the American East will be representing I Street in the NCAA tournament, which would be great. But who do you guys like? Give me your four teams. If you could pick it and say I'm taking these four guys out of the round to be my team. One of these four are going to win it for me. Who's your four?
The final four. I'm
We'll
hoping
go 1-1.
Okay, I'll take one.
He can have whatever he wants. I'm going women. Because, I don't watch the men's game that much.
Okay.
So I'm going women.
All right. That's perfect. You can give me the four men. You give me the four women.
Without looking, clearly, I hope the Bulldogs, Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. I hope for Coach Few. I hope this is the year. No offense, because if one of your guys gets in, Notre Dame makes a run in the ACC tournament. By the way, Prentice Hub he's on a tear right now.
Named third team All ACC today.
Correct. So if it's not one of your guys, I'm rooting for the Zags. Mm-hmm. I think so. I think Gonzaga got to be one, possibly two teams from the Big Ten. Michigan, maybe Illinois. Depends on how things kind of shape up. And I'm not sold on Baylor. I'm not sold on Baylor going down there. And give me somebody from, I don't know, maybe Big East, maybe Villanova or somebody along that.
Lost their point guard. And
not Big East.
And just had their second point guard roll his ankle and Justin Moore. So they're minus their best two players in the backcourt right now.
You think anybody in the West Coast? Pac-12?
Oregon looks strong.
I was thinking that.
They just won the Pac-12 regular season conference the other night. To the ladies' side.
Even money on UConn. right? I mean, everybody knows that. I'm not so sure they're going to get the number 1 overall. I wonder if Stanford can. Vanderveer, don't sleep on her. I think Maryland pushes through finally. They've had several years where they have not been able to make it to the Final Four. Not sold on South Carolina, but I'm going to go back to Baylor. Baylor, Maryland, UConn, Stanford.
When you look at it, Baylor's the one school that could win it on both sides, men and women.
Right.
They have enough talent, men and women, to win it. Could this be a year the same school gets the men and women's national championship?
So here's my thing, by the way. Thank you for taking over on the men's bracket. I really don't watch a lot of men's college basketball, but UNC's got Duke's number this year, don't they? Because I looked at the score. I know it's a different kind of year, but I mean, they just got their number this year because UNC put it on them.
They did.
Right. That's all. I just saw a score. I didn't watch the game. I just saw a score. That's it. But I'm going UNC, Stanford. I'm going Baylor. I'm going Maryland. I think Brenda pushes through with that group this year. They have the young lady. I can't say her.
From PVI.
Yes.
She's
help me with her name.
I don't want to mess it up.
I called her games. I called her
legit.
Games. Yeah. And she is not your prototypical. Let me see if I can find a roster. She is not your prototypical looking ball handler either.
Yep.
She's not. She's you don't look at her and think
most people would think she's playing in the forward.
Right.
But
Owusu. Ashley Owusu. You would think she's playing not forward, power forward. Because she looks strong, but she's bringing the ball up. She's got handles.
She can shoot the three.
She's playing well on defense. Yeah, the one who went to PVI. I called her some of her games against AZ FUD. And by the way, I got back in. I called some Patriot League playoffs this weekend. AU women beat Army pretty easily, beat them by 20 or 21. And the AU men, they got handled. They got handled by Navy.
Eagles. Navy's having a Navy outside of that loss to the Terps, only probably out of conference game they had outside of the Patriot League. They're 16-2 or something. I mean, they're 16-3.
They got knocked out of the tournament.
But still.
First round.
Bucknell women, they're undefeated, just for the record. And I did not get to call Lehigh. That game got postponed twice this year. I never got to call Lehigh.
Mountain Hawks never made it down to Bender Arena.
You mean the Buzzards?
The Buzzards.
I called them the Buzzards. Okay. You were not happy with me.
Okay, gun to your head. What was Lehigh's original mascot? Do you know this, Steve?
Why would I even know that?
You don't?
A Mountain Hawk? I don't know.
The Mountain Hawk was the newer mascot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They changed in early 2000s. Little trivia. A lot of people.
I forget.
All right. Engineers.
All right.
The L with the train coming through. It's a big time.
Big time engineers.
Coach O'Neill was not in the engineering department.
But I did not get to call Lehigh this year, sir. Thanks to, they had a different kind of schedule, and if it gets postponed so many times, they just move someone in. Because I swear, AU played Loyola and Lafayette like 44 times this year. I called a bunch of Loyola games. So here's a stat I got a couple of stats for you. One, not such a great stat. You remember Karamina Tenedo?
Yeah.
She played at St. John's. I'm estimating she may have lost 15 to 20 games in her high school career. She plays for Loyola. They did not win a game this year.
Oh, wow.
And I felt so bad for her. They did not win a game this year. She's gone from, the highest of the highest to, they were struggling to come up with some wins. But here's your stat. Thank you, Sean Parker in Minnesota. Marv Albert called his first NBA game on January 27th, 1963. Players in that game included Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Tommy Heinsohn, and Bob Cousy. He also called the NBA All-Star game yesterday. That guy's been calling games for a long time.
That's big time.
Hey, I'm calling a protest here real quick. You really got to post a picture of me closing my eyes, shooting the jump shot. I think you took about 4 or 5.
I took like one picture.
Of course, you have the handle there. You put me closing my eyes on this. Krissy, do you see this? My eyes are closed.
So that means all the times that I watch you knock down threes,
you're
wishing them in?
You guys are...
You're wishing them in.
Go to our Instagram.
You know what?
You're wishing
I
them
look
in.
great. Just it's already... The ball's released,
because
so I close my eyes.
Did you see Steph do that yesterday, by the way?
He turned his back?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Steph shot a 3, and before it even got there, he turned around, whack, and he just rolled down the court because C-Web called for that.
So even though I like to see the dudes battle, but I was a fan of them having fun.
Some of that showmanship,
I was a fan of them having fun.
Real quick, speaking of eyes closed, I'm not offended. I'll take it. The Stanley Cup comes to Washington in 2018. I am blessed enough with Gonzaga hockey and our amazing AD, Joe Rada, invited to see John Carlson with his day with the cup come through. We were it was at Columbia Country Club. We got invited. We went over there.
Up here?
Columbia Country Club over here in
Connecticut
Chevy
Avenue.
Chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go there. We're waiting. The cup comes through real quick. Everyone with John Gonzaga Hockey, AD, assistant AD. They take no less. I mean, there's 1,000 cameras. Everyone's with their phones. They take this photo. This photo's going to go down in history. Gonzaga Hockey, AD. 100 photos. The one freaking time when I just kind of adjust my position and my eyes are closed. Everyone else looks great. That's the photo. So you have John Carlson, the Stanley freaking Cup. Stay still. I mean, it's awful. If Joe hears this, he's going to laugh.
You know what?
He's going to laugh.
He probably had his chaps on. He was a little cold.
I'm not going to tell you what else I was doing. No, I'm teasing. Come on.
DJ Krissy. Let's hear from our advertisers. Take it to you with Turner and O'Neill. We'd like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, and Body and Beyond Wellness.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. The final word is brought to you by
Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
We are back, and now it's time for our final words. Some thanks, and of course, our weekly quote this week offered by Coach O'Neill. We invite you to become a friend of the program. To do so, go to turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. And that website's changing, sir. I got to show you. I got a couple things on here I want to show you on that website. Cool. If you'd like to build your brand with our audience of thousands, go to turnerando'neill.com, click Partnerships. For as little as $25 per episode, your brand can be represented here and on 15 podcast platforms on YouTube and across our podcast network. To connect with us socially, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are over 100 subscribers, but we still need you. You will get the episode drop alerts if you subscribe via YouTube. Now, when it comes to where you can listen, we've got you covered. Listen and subscribe on Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast content. Nothing will ever beat that episode where you said shrimp gumbo, shrimp. I mean, that was just too funny. Search Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. We invite you to subscribe so you can get the alerts the moment an episode drops. We encourage you to join the conversation as we are a growing community here at Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. So write to us at turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com. Before we sign off, you got something going on over there, bro?
Little call. Thank you.
All right, she's going to mute the mic. I mean, the man's coughing all over everything. Damn. All right, you good now?
Good.
You ready?
Yeah.
Take a drink of water. You drink all your water. You're over anxious son of a gun.
So just emotional.
Save some of your water.
I'm just emotional. I'm ready to go.
All right. Good Lord. We are truly humbled that each of you take a TO with us each week. I must thank our engineer, DJ Krissy. You two gentlemen, Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill, as well as Paula. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners, we encourage our audience to support those who support us. Gentlemen, any final thoughts? I'll start with you since this gentleman has the quote. Well, actually, I'll start with you. DJ Krissy, any final thoughts?
Going back to Takoma Park, I mean, that was fun.
Krissy, I don't know if you know, Krissy, so every game that I've ever coached in basketball, she has done the scorebook from day one. A couple times she might have been sick, but she has been my scorebook person since 1997. And she remembers counting helmets, counting shoulder pads, writing down, making sure we had birth certificates on everyone. Krissy has been a part of supporting all of the athletics I've coached throughout the years. So she knows the Lee Jordan field.
Krissy's a diehard.
She is.
You are a diehard.
Inventory of equipment. Equipment don't smell good all the time, too, after a season's over.
Well, and it just sits in the same room, and then you come back a year later, and it's not good.
Krissy has been there. She's driven. She's been on the fields.
Not good.
She's been in the rain, the snow. She has been a part of what I've done. And then I saw the light, and I started coaching basketball, an indoor sport. And she has done the scorebook for me. She's the only one who's ever seen me get a tech or both techs that I've ever gotten in my life. So that's Krissy. Taking it back to Takoma Park, huh?
Oh, the stories.
TA.
So many stories.
Memories.
Yes.
Maple Ave.
Yeah, she's probably dropped Steve Francis off a time or two. I don't know. Well, he was in college by then. So no, that was before your time.
Yeah.
But Coach Turner, any final thoughts?
Another great episode. Glad to be here with you guys. Shots feeling good.
Good.
Y'all didn't have to put a pillow down on the ground for me today. I made it through.
You made it through.
Made it through. I hope so.
Not just yet.
I hope so. Don't know how the evening will go, but just excited again to be here for my Mental Health Monday with the crew, and we keep bringing some great guests. I can't wait to see who's next.
You know who you probably did? You know Derek Davis.
Yeah,
Derek Davis. She probably dropped him off a time or two.
I would bet.
His brother, was it Willie?
His brother, God, what was his brother's name?
Not Earl.
No, but he was a pretty good athlete too.
I know she knows Earl.
Yep.
Yeah. But Derek Davis, she's dropped him off. She knows Earl. Who was Earl's brother? Was it Willie? It was Willie.
No, you talking about Earl Boyd?
No. Earl, Earl Henry. Earl. He played over at DeMatha. He played football and hoops over at DeMatha. Earl Henry. He was a standout football player. I think he went to Virginia State for football, not basketball. Okay. But she dropped off a bunch of those Takoma Park boys.
Old Mr. Langley.
The old Mr. Langley. And
Tony Langley.
You know who signed me up when I played football for Takoma Park Boys and Girls Club? Lee Jordan himself.
Wow.
With the clipboard, writing everything down by hand.
And the bike shorts too. Get the bike shorts in there.
Lee Jordan of Takoma Park was Gonzaga's Mr. Cozy.
Yes, Mr. Lee Jordan. He passed away. We named the field after him, but he had his clipboard. Tell me your name, son. He put your name down. This was before the birth certificate days. Just tell me your age. You can play.
You can play.
Right. Coach O'Neill, your final thoughts before your quote.
Final thoughts. Incredible episode. Incredible guest. Again, I'll say it a third time. I'm just honored to
pinch myself
here and talk to Mr. Steve Francis. So exciting. Coach Turner, thank you. Everybody here in the studio, thank you. And I brought some gifts, even though I wasn't going to be, saying this many thanks. But if everybody could see the nice new vest, Gonzaga Lacrosse, from my Take a TO family.
My man.
Today's quote, here we go. Leadership is getting teammates to believe in you. If you tell a teammate you're ready to play as tough as you're able to, well, then you better go out there and back it up. Players will see right through a phony, and they can tell when you're not giving it all you've got. That quote comes from Mr. Larry Bird.
All right.
Boom.
DJ Krissy, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our advertisers. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without the written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to TurnerO'NeillPodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more than 15 podcast platforms in total. You can also view Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill weekly on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episode drops. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Advertising opportunities are available.